My name's Georgia Hill and I'm an illustrator and artist from Sydney, Australia. My art, in the simplest way to describe it, is words and textures together. I always work in black and white, bold lettering, combined with all these really heavy, almost ornate textures. I really like to work alone. I wanted to kind of find a place that would reflect that in a really simple way, where you have space to think and reflect a bit more, because they're the themes I like to deal with in my work. My aim here is to paint a large-scale mural. It's the first time I've ever explored going to a site specifically to make a work and letting that influence what I'm going to come up with. We ended up finding Tarraleah, which is a small hydro town 2 hours away from Hobart in the Tasmanian wilderness.
The Tarraleah rose literally from the ground in about 1930s, and this was all bush, but it was on top of a massive escarpment, and so it was created so they could plunge the water down the escarpment and make electricity. And it kept growing right up to the 1980s when population was about 2,000. And then really by the sort of 90s, everything started becoming digitalised and the need for people disappeared. And so the town got forgotten. Even though it was pretty run down, you could see with a bit of loving, they could all come up, and they have. You're never really the owner, because you can't own it really. You're the steward, you're the guardian.
I discovered the whole large-scale walls and mural thing is something I've always looked at and really loved the idea of doing it. But for a long time, I didn't think my work was right for it. I've only been painting larger scale works for probably 2 years now. I'm really interested to go and see the hydropower plant, and it's not just that it's a beautifully designed building, but also because it's the reason this whole place exists.
Welcome to Tarraleah Power Station. Just a bit of a quick rundown on the station. The building is described as Art Deco.
Art Deco is what first got me into looking at architecture.
Okay, we really appreciate this.
Yeah.
We've got these two decorative chaps here, Steve and Larry, have been around for quite a while. 100 years of service there between them.
Between you. Yeah.
Don't be alarmed if you hear noises like that, but if you see me run, be alarmed.
You just mentioned that you lived in Tarraleah for 26 years. Can you tell us a bit about living there?
I started here when I was 16 years old in 1966. I nearly went home the second day. It was pretty frightening. After I met a few friends and that, it was pretty good. And the work, I loved it. Tarraleah, the village itself, I suppose partly it was isolated, but really you had everything here. It suited me down to the ground. I think it was in the late 80s, sort of just disbanded. That was a really depressing time for me because I lived in the place for that long and virtually demolished.
In my work, I deal with these things about kind of like time and cycles and change. Change isn't always a great thing, but I guess it's kind of necessary sometimes as well.
Yeah, well, I love it up here. I'm like Larry, like the fishing, the shooting, the good veggie garden. Yeah, I couldn't live in Hobart.
Yeah. Talking to Larry and Steve, I think the sense of isolation really came through. I love this idea that you do what has to be done. If you don't do it, who else will? Before I get started, I want to hear about Tarraleah from a local. We're off to see Headley, who's the caretaker of the Tarraleah Golf Club.
Yeah, this is the clubhouse come lounge room come whatever, yeah. We go to Barnbougle every 12 months. Mm-hmm. That's the Barnbougle trophy.
Yeah.
If I'd known you was coming in, I would have cleaned up a little bit better, but...
No, don't worry. If you saw where I live at the moment, it's not much better at all. When did you come to Tarraleah?
1968.
And did you come for work?
Yeah. I was only 16, so I put my age up to 18. It was the first day I had to go to work in a pipeline. I went back to the camp and I said, you can run me home, I'm going back home to Mum. So I stayed the week and I had 24 years here.
You're good. You're happy to be here.
Yeah. You're only isolated when it snows. Worst ever was 12 months ago. Stayed here for 7 days, non-stop. Didn't go anywhere, couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah. And does that make you feel any different?
Well, I was starting to feel different because I'd run out of cigarettes.
Right.
No, I never found it hard. A lot of people did. They couldn't adapt to being away. There were a lot of people come and go.
Have you ever gotten a hole in one?
No.
Really?
No.
You got time to practice. You can...
Yeah, I'm running out of time.
Wow. At Headley's, there was this fantastic mix of natural and man-made textures, logs and the different textures you have in that wood that you need for the fire. A tree trunk had fallen on his car, the smashed tailgate, and the boot was crushed in and the windscreen was smashed. It's just these textures that I'm always looking for that you can't fake. They have to occur naturally. I know that's something I want to use again, that I want to see my own version of that in my work later on. Originally, I started using black and white just as a way to simplify my work for myself. So I was trying to work in colour and I wasn't enjoying it. I've come to realise it let me really look at things like form and line and kind of build something really rich and detailed and layered just out of two flat colours. Focus on things like composition much more than relying on colour to create the scene. And I also found out I have synesthesia. In my case, I associate colours with letters and numbers. Like if you say the letter A, I see it as red. And that's just how I've always seen it. When you start to combine these letters together to make words, I start to combine the colours as well. I then start to have these feelings about words and numbers depending on how I feel about those colours. And it's been really strange to realise this after working in black and white for so long. My process for the wall I made here in Tarraleah was different to how I usually work. It just left such an impression on me talking to people, and there's definitely such a beautiful feeling here. And so I wanted to incorporate lettering that would speak to that, but also use a lot of the man-made and natural kind of textures and forms that usually inform my work as well. What do you do here exactly?
Well, I'm a fishing guide.
Right.
And this is my 38th season.
Wow.
My family arrived here in 1814.
200 years.
Yeah.
Wow. So I guess this is something you've always known out here.
Totally. When I moved up here to Brady's Lake 25 years ago, this was a full working operational town. Tremendous infrastructure, the school where I believe you're going to be working. My youngest son was the last grade 6 student at that school.
Right.
It can be difficult working up here at times, so you're very weather dependent.
Yeah.
The winter, you can be actually locked into the area where roads are closed and you can't actually get out. But I still love the highlands. I'm a mountain man. I think it's a fairly unique thing that you're doing to try and put something up here. So what images have you got planned for here then?
Well, for here, I'm thinking of doing a big lettering piece that says, "Think of me." It's a phrase I've been thinking of for a while, but I haven't had the right context to put it in.
Okay.
Usually I try to avoid things that are too specific, like about me or you, but I felt for the first time this was the right context to use something like that. I've always been quite shy about my work, and I think that's why I initially was drawn to graphic design, because you could justify it. You kind of had to have a brief, and that was your reason for making work. As I've kind of matured, I've realised I have things I want to explore and say that no brief will let me do. I don't want to make work for someone else, I want to do it for myself. When I came here initially, I thought it would be very much about the houses, about the structures. I really didn't think talking to the people or learning about the history would have such an impact on me. We're in Tasmania in winter, racing the weather and racing the clock. We talked to so many people who were very matter of fact, like you just get on with it, you get things done. That was in my mind quite a bit. There's no excuse for not finishing something that you started. What I would usually approach as a 3-day paint, we had to get really tight on time and pretty much paint from 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. Good luck. But I'm getting better every time. You take whatever challenge comes up and do the best job you can in that time and apply it to the next paint. I don't want to make works that tell people what to do, but I think it's about taking time to pause and reflect. And I think being somewhere like Tarraleah has had that effect as well, that somewhere can be so still, but also so loaded with its own history. Being here has really confirmed that I want to make sure I'm travelling. You have to move, you have to see things in order to keep growing in that personal way, but also for your work. Being able to get yourself comfortable, that thing you relate to that makes you feel like yourself in a totally new place, is what I'm looking for.